Question 1. What is the role of the California Bureau of Real Estate, CalBRE, in regulating real estate activities? A. Setting property taxes. B. Regulating mortgage rates. C. Overseeing property development. D. Licensing and regulating real estate professionals. Answer. D. Licensing and regulating real estate professionals. Explanation. The California Bureau of Real Estate, CalBRE, is responsible for licensing, regulation, and enforcement of real estate laws, including the activities of real estate agents and brokers. Question 2. Describe the legal implications of an easement appurtenant in a California property sale. A. It increases the property tax. B. It allows public access to private land. C. It transfers with the property to new owners. D. It expires upon the sale of the property. Answer. C. It transfers with the property to new owners. Explanation. An easement appurtenant is a right attached to the use of a property that transfers with the property when it is sold. It typically benefits the property and is tied to the land itself. Question 3. How does California law define dual agency in a real estate transaction? A. Representing both buyer and seller in different transactions. B. A broker working without a real estate agent. C. Representing both buyer and seller in the same transaction. D. Operating with a suspended license. Answer. C. Representing both buyer and seller in the same transaction. Explanation. Dual agency occurs when a real estate agent or broker represents both the buyer and seller in the same transaction, which must be disclosed and agreed upon by all parties. Question 4. What is a 1031 exchange, and how can it benefit real estate investors in California? A. A method to avoid paying property taxes. B. A technique for fast property transfer. C. A tax-deferred exchange of investment properties. D. A practice for converting residential to commercial property. Answer. C. A tax-deferred exchange of investment properties. Explanation. A 1031 exchange, under the United States Internal Revenue Code, allows investors to defer capital gains taxes on the exchange of like-kind properties. Question 5. Explain the process and requirements for obtaining a real estate license in California. A. Completion of a college degree in real estate. B. Passing a background check only. C. Completion of pre-licensing courses and passing a state exam. D. Membership in a national real estate organization. Answer. C. Completion of pre-licensing courses and passing a state exam. Explanation. To obtain a real estate license in California, an individual must complete specific pre-licensing education courses and pass a state licensing exam. Question 6. Describe the significance of disclosure of material facts in California real estate transactions. A. Optional but recommended for ethical practice. B. Required only for commercial properties. C. Legally required to inform buyers of significant property aspects. D. Necessary only for properties over 20 years old. Answer. C. Legally required to inform buyers of significant property aspects. Explanation. In California, sellers and their agents are legally required to disclose material facts that could affect the property's value or desirability. Question 7. What are the implications of selling a property as is in California? A. The seller is exempt from property taxes. B. The property is sold without warranties. C. The buyer cannot request repairs. D. Only cash offers are accepted. Answer. B. The property is sold without warranties. Explanation. Selling a property as is in California means the seller is not willing to make repairs, but they are still required to disclose known defects. Question 8. How does California's Proposition 13 affect property tax assessments? A. It limits annual increases in assessed value. B. It increases taxes for commercial properties. C. It exempts first-time buyers from property tax. D. It bases taxes on the current market value. Answer. A. It limits annual increases in assessed value. Explanation. Proposition 13, passed in 1978, caps the annual increases in the assessed value of property in California to a maximum of 2% per year. Question 9. Define escrow in the context of a California real estate transaction. A. A legal dispute over property boundaries. B. A loan taken out against property equity. C. A neutral third party holding funds or documents. D. The process of appraising a property. Answer. C. A neutral third party holding funds or documents. Explanation. In real estate, escrow refers to a neutral third party holding onto funds, documents, or other items until certain conditions are met in the transaction. Question 10. What legal steps must a California landlord follow to evict a tenant for non-payment of rent? A. Immediate eviction without notice. B. Serving a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. C. Obtaining a court order without notice. D. Evicting without legal proceedings. Answer. B. Serving a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit. Explanation. In California, a landlord must first serve a tenant with a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit before proceeding with legal eviction for non-payment of rent. Question 11. In California, how does the concept of community property affect the sale of a property during a divorce? A. The property is automatically sold. B. It is divided equally between spouses. C. Only the spouse with higher income can sell. D. The property is transferred to the state. Answer. B. It is divided equally between spouses. Explanation. Under California's community property laws, property acquired during marriage is considered jointly owned and is usually divided equally between the spouses in a divorce. Question 12. Explain the purpose and process of conducting a comparative market analysis, CEMA, in California. A. To estimate a property's tax value. B. To determine the best insurance policy. C. To evaluate a property's market value based on similar properties. D. To assess a property's construction quality. Answer. C. To evaluate a property's market value based on similar properties. Explanation. A CMA involves comparing a property to similar recently sold properties in the area to estimate its market value for pricing or purchase offer decisions. Question 13. What are the key differences between a general warranty deed and a quitclaim deed in California? A. General warranty deeds are for commercial properties, quitclaim for residential. B. General warranty provides more buyer protection than a quitclaim deed. C. Quitclaim deeds are used only in foreclosures. D. General warranty deeds are faster to process. Answer. B. General warranty provides more buyer protection than a quitclaim deed. Explanation. A general warranty deed guarantees the property is free from liens and encumbrances, while a quitclaim deed transfers the seller's interest without any warranties. Question 14. Describe the foreclosure process in California and what options the homeowner might have to avoid it. A. Immediate eviction with no notice. B. A court process with options like loan modification or short sale. C. Mandatory sale of the property. D. The lender takes possession without court involvement. Answer. B. A court process with options like loan modification or short sale. Explanation. Foreclosure in California typically involves a legal process, and homeowners may have options like loan modification, short sale, or refinancing to avoid losing their home. Question 15. What are the responsibilities of a California real estate agent when representing both the buyer and seller in the same transaction? Tool agency. A. To favor the seller over the buyer. B. To only disclose information to the seller. C. To provide fair and equal representation to both parties. D. Dual agency is not allowed in California. Answer. C. To provide fair and equal representation to both parties. Explanation. In a dual agency situation, the agent must treat both the buyer and seller fairly, without favoring one over the other, and fully disclose the dual agency. Question 16. Define capitalization rate, cap rate, in real estate investment and its importance in California. A. The rate of return on a rental property investment. B. The interest rate on a real estate loan. C. The property tax rate in a specific area. D. The commission rate for real estate agents. Answer. A. The rate of return on a rental property investment. Explanation. The capitalization rate is used to estimate the investor's potential return on a real estate investment, calculated as the net operating income divided by the current market value of the property. Question 17. How does the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, impact real estate properties in California? A. Requires all properties to be wheelchair accessible. B. Only applies to government-owned properties. C. Mandates specific accessibility features in public and commercial properties. D. It does not apply to real estate. Answer. C. Mandates specific accessibility features in public and commercial properties. Explanation. The ADA requires that public and commercial properties be accessible to individuals with disabilities, including features like ramps, wide doors, and accessible restrooms. Question 18. Explain the significance of zoning laws in real estate development in California. A. They dictate the architectural style of buildings. B. Determine how properties can be used or developed. C. Only apply to agricultural land. D. Govern the interior design of commercial properties. Answer. B. Determine how properties can be used or developed. Explanation. Zoning laws in California establish regulations for land use and development, determining what types of structures can be built and how properties can be used. Question 19. What legal considerations are involved in converting a single-family home into a bed and breakfast in California? A. No legal considerations. Any homeowner can convert. B. Obtaining proper zoning and permits and adhering to health and safety regulations. C. Only the exterior design needs approval. D. Approval from the Homeowners Association is the only requirement. Answer. B. Obtaining proper zoning and permits and adhering to health and safety regulations. Explanation. Converting a single-family home into a bed and breakfast in California involves obtaining the correct zoning, necessary permits, and compliance with health, safety, and business regulations. Question 20. Define Transfer Disclosure Statement, TDS, in California real estate and its importance in property transactions. A. A document outlining the commission rates. B. A statement indicating transfer of property ownership. C. A mandatory disclosure form outlining the property's condition. D. A contract between buyer and seller for property transfer. Answer. C. A mandatory disclosure form outlining the property's condition. Explanation. The TDES is a legally required document in California where sellers disclose the condition of the property, including any known defects or issues, to potential buyers. Question 21. A buyer discovers that the California property they're interested in is part of a homeowners association, HOA, with strict rules. What considerations should the buyer keep in mind? A. The color of the exterior paint only. B. HOA fees and specific community rules. C. Only the landscaping guidelines. D. The age of the property. Answer. B. HOA fees and specific community rules. Explanation. When buying a property in an HOA, it's important to consider the monthly or annual HOA fees and understand the community's rules and regulations, which can affect lifestyle and property use. Question 22. Define the term fixture in real estate and explain how it determines what stays with a property upon sale in California. A. A movable item not included in the sale. B. An item permanently attached to the property. C. Decorations added by the seller. D. Appliances regardless of attachment. Answer: B. An item permanently attached to the property. Explanation: in real estate, a fixture is an item that is permanently attached to the property, such as built-in cabinets, which typically stays with the property when it's sold. Question 23. What legal actions can a California homeowner take if their neighbor builds a structure that violates local zoning laws? A. Immediate demolition of the structure. B. File a complaint with the local zoning board. C. No action, as it's a neighbor's right. D. Take over the ownership of the structure. Answer: B. File a complaint with the local zoning board. Explanation: if a neighbor's construction violates zoning laws, the homeowner can file a complaint with the local zoning or planning department, which can enforce compliance. Question 24. In a California real estate transaction, what are the implications of a property being sold with a life estate attached to it? A. The property cannot be sold. B. The life tenant retains the right to use the property for their lifetime. C. The property's value is significantly reduced. D. The buyer becomes the tenant. Answer: B. The life tenant retains the right to use the property for their lifetime. Explanation: a life estate means the seller, or another designated person, retains the right to use and live in the property for the duration of their life, after which full ownership passes to the buyer. Question 25. Describe the process of obtaining a conditional use permit in California and when it might be required. A. Required for all property sales. B. For changing the designated use of a property outside standard zoning. C. Only for commercial properties. D. A special permit for painting a house. Answer: B. For changing the designated use of a property outside standard zoning. Explanation: a conditional use permit is required when a property owner wants to use their land in a way that is not in accordance with current zoning laws, subject to certain conditions. Question 26. Scenario: a California property listed for sale is found to be in a designated flood zone. How does this designation affect the seller's disclosure obligations and the buyer's insurance requirements? A. Seller must disclose, buyer must purchase flood insurance. B. No effect on disclosure or insurance. C. Seller doesn't need to disclose, buyer decides on insurance. D. Buyer must disclose to the lender, seller buys insurance. Answer: A. Seller must disclose, buyer must purchase flood insurance. Explanation: in California, sellers are required to disclose if a property is in a flood zone, which can impact the buyer's decision and typically requires them to purchase flood insurance. Question 27. Explain the significance of adverse possession in California. Under what conditions can someone claim ownership of a property through adverse possession? A. Simply by living on the property for a year. B. With the owner's permission only. C. Through open, notorious, continuous, and hostile possession for 5 years. D. Automatically after renting for 10 years. Answer: C. Through open, notorious, continuous, and hostile possession for 5 years. Explanation: adverse possession in California requires someone to occupy the property openly, notoriously, continuously, and hostilely for 5 years, along with paying property taxes. Question 28. A real estate investor is considering a property in a historic district of California. What additional considerations should they take into account? A. Only the age of the property. B. Preservation restrictions and potential tax incentives. C. The color of the building. D. The popularity of the historic district. Answer: B. Preservation restrictions and potential tax incentives. Explanation: investing in a property within a historic district in California comes with considerations like preservation restrictions and possibly qualifying for tax incentives or grants for maintaining the property's historic character. Question 29. Define capitalization rate, cap rate, in real estate investment and discuss its importance in evaluating a property in California. A. The rate of annual rental income to property price. B. The interest rate for real estate loans. C. The property tax rate. D. The commission percentage for agents. Answer. A. The rate of annual rental income to property price. Explanation. The cap rate is a key metric in real estate investment, calculated by dividing the property's net annual rental income by its purchase price, indicating the potential return on investment. Question 30. Scenario. After purchasing a new home in California, a buyer discovers the backyard shed encroaches on the neighbor's property. What are the potential legal remedies? A. Ignoring the issue as it's minor. B. Negotiating a property line adjustment or easement with the neighbor. C. Demolishing the shed immediately. D. Taking ownership of the neighbor's land. Answer. B. Negotiating a property line adjustment or easement with the neighbor. Explanation. In cases of encroachment like a shed over a property line, the buyer can negotiate a property line adjustment or an easement agreement with the neighbor to legally resolve the issue. Question 31. What is the purpose of the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, and how does it protect consumers in California real estate transactions? A. It ensures fair trade practices in real estate. B. Provides guidelines for property development. C. It mandates full disclosure of all costs in the transaction. D. Controls the interest rates on mortgages. Answer. C. It mandates full disclosure of all costs in the transaction. Explanation. RESPA requires full disclosure of all costs related to a real estate transaction, helping consumers in California to understand their financial obligations and avoid hidden charges. Question 32. A commercial property owner in California wants to convert the building into condominiums. What legal and regulatory steps must be taken? A. No steps needed. The owner can convert at will. B. Obtaining approval from the local planning department and adhering to condominium conversion laws. C. Only a simple notification to the tenants. D. Paying a fee to the state. Answer. B. Obtaining approval from the local planning department and adhering to condominium conversion laws. Explanation. Converting a building into condominiums in California involves legal processes like obtaining local government approvals, adhering to specific condominium conversion laws, and possible tenant relocation considerations. Question 33. Explain the concept of easement by necessity in California real estate and provide an example. A. A voluntary easement granted by a property owner. B. For aesthetic purposes only. C. A necessary easement for landlocked property access. D. Only applicable to commercial properties. Answer. C. A necessary easement for landlocked property access. Explanation. An easement by necessity occurs when a property is landlocked and needs access through another property, like a driveway or path, to reach a public road. Question 34. Scenario. A property owner in California discovers their neighbor's new fence extends onto their property. How should they proceed to resolve this boundary dispute? A. Ignoring the issue. B. Engaging in a direct confrontation. C. Seeking legal advice and possibly a survey to confirm boundaries. D. Automatically removing the fence. Answer. C. Seeking legal advice and possibly a survey to confirm boundaries. Explanation. In case of a boundary dispute like an encroaching fence, the property owner should seek legal advice and may need a professional survey to determine the accurate property lines. Question 35. What are the responsibilities of a real estate broker in managing client funds in a trust account in California? A. Mixing them with personal funds. B. Using them for office expenses. C. Keeping them separate and properly accounting for them. D. Investing them for higher returns. Answer. C. Keeping them separate and properly accounting for them. Explanation. California law requires real estate brokers to keep client funds in a separate trust account and maintain accurate records, ensuring proper handling and transparency. Question 36. Describe the legal consequences for a real estate agent in California who engages in steering or blockbusting practices. A. It is encouraged for market analysis. B. May lead to legal action, fines, and loss of license. C. Only a warning is given. D. It's considered good practice. Answer. B. May lead to legal action, fines, and loss of license. Explanation. Steering, guiding buyers towards or away from certain areas based on discrimination, and blockbusting, inducing panic selling, are illegal practices in California, potentially leading to legal action, fines, and loss of real estate license. Question 37. Define gross rent multiplier in real estate and its use in evaluating rental properties in California. A. The monthly rent multiplied by 12. B. A measure of the property's income potential. C. The total square footage of the rental property. D. The number of rental units in the property. Answer. B. A measure of the property's income potential. Explanation. The gross rent multiplier, GRM, is used to assess the value or income potential of a rental property by dividing the property's price by its gross annual rental income. Question 38. Scenario. A seller in California discovers a significant termite problem days before closing. What are their legal obligations regarding disclosure to the buyer? A. No obligation to disclose. B. To immediately remedy the issue without telling the buyer. C. To disclose the termite issue to the buyer. D. To reduce the selling price. Answer. C. To disclose the termite issue to the buyer. Explanation. In California, sellers are legally obligated to disclose any known issues like termite infestations to potential buyers before the sale is finalized. Question 39. In California, what are the legal considerations and steps involved in converting a single-family home into a bed and breakfast? A. No legal steps required. B. Obtaining proper permits, zoning changes, and adhering to health and safety regulations. C. Only notifying the neighbors. D. Changing the exterior appearance to match a commercial property. Answer. B. Obtaining proper permits, zoning changes, and adhering to health and safety regulations. Explanation. Converting a single-family home into a bed and breakfast in California requires obtaining necessary permits, possible zoning changes, and compliance with health, safety, and business regulations. Question 40. A tenant in a California rental property discovers significant mold growth. What are their rights under California law, and what steps should they take? A. Ignore it as it's the landlord's responsibility. B. Clean it themselves without notifying anyone. C. Notify the landlord and request remediation. D. Immediately vacate without notice. Answer. C. Notify the landlord and request remediation. Explanation. When encountering mold in a rental property in California, the tenant should notify the landlord, who is responsible for ensuring the property is habitable, which includes addressing mold issues. Question 41. What legal implications and responsibilities exist for a real estate agent in California when representing both the buyer and seller in the same transaction? Dual agency. A. The agent cannot represent both parties. B. The agent must disclose the dual agency to both parties and obtain their consent. C. The agent only represents the seller's interests. D. The agent only represents the buyer's interests. Answer. B. The agent must disclose the dual agency to both parties and obtain their consent. Explanation. In California, a real estate agent can act as a dual agent representing both the buyer and seller in the same transaction, but they must disclose this to both parties and obtain their informed consent. Question 42. Scenario. A buyer in California backs out of a real estate transaction after the inspection period. What are the potential financial repercussions? A. No repercussions. The buyer can leave any time. B. Losing the earnest money deposit. C. Paying the full purchase price. D. Being sued for breach of contract. Answer: B. Losing the earnest money deposit. Explanation: if a buyer in California backs out of a real estate transaction after the inspection period without a valid reason, they may lose their earnest money deposit, as it serves as compensation for the seller's time off the market. Question 43. Define market value in real estate and explain how it is determined in California. A. The highest price a property can sell for in its current condition. B. A fixed price set by the government. C. The rental income potential of the property. D. The cost of building the property. Answer: A. The highest price a property can sell for in its current condition. Explanation: market value in real estate refers to the highest price a property is likely to sell for in its current condition in a competitive and open market, determined by factors like location, condition, and comparable sales. Question 44. Scenario: during a drought, a homeowner in California is restricted from using their well. What rights and limitations pertain to groundwater usage on private property? A. Unlimited usage rights regardless of drought. B. Use is subject to state and local water conservation regulations. C. Only usage for drinking water is permitted. D. The well must be sealed permanently. Answer: B. Use is subject to state and local water conservation regulations. Explanation: in California, homeowners' rights to use groundwater from their wells can be restricted during droughts according to state and local water conservation regulations. Question 45. A real estate agent in California is accused of blockbusting. Explain this term and its legal implications. A. Promoting properties as investment opportunities. B. Inducing homeowners to sell by implying demographic changes in the neighborhood. C. Specializing in high-end real estate. D. Exclusively selling new constructions. Answer: B. Inducing homeowners to sell by implying demographic changes in the neighborhood. Explanation: blockbusting is an illegal practice where a real estate agent induces homeowners to sell their property by suggesting that changes in neighborhood demographics will negatively affect property values. It can lead to legal penalties and loss of license. Question 46. Explain the concept of title insurance in California real estate transactions and why it is important for buyers. A. It insures against physical damage to the property. B. Protects buyers from potential title defects or legal claims against the property. C. Covers the cost of home improvements. D. Insures the property's appliances. Answer: B. Protects buyers from potential title defects or legal claims against the property. Explanation: title insurance protects real estate buyers in California from financial loss due to defects in the title to the property, such as lines, encumbrances, or legal claims, ensuring a clear title. Question 47. Scenario: in California, how does a deed in lieu of foreclosure work, and when might it be used? A. Transferring property ownership to avoid foreclosure. B. A method to increase property value. C. Only used in commercial real estate. D. A tool for renegotiating mortgage terms. Answer: A. Transferring property ownership to avoid foreclosure. Explanation: a deed in lieu of foreclosure is a legal process where a homeowner voluntarily transfers the property deed to the lender to avoid the foreclosure process, typically used when the homeowner can no longer make mortgage payments. Question 48. What are the key legal and zoning considerations for converting a commercial building into residential lots in California? A. No considerations. Conversion can be done freely. B. Obtaining necessary permits and ensuring compliance with local zoning and building codes. C. Only aesthetic considerations. D. The impact on commercial real estate market. Answer: B. Obtaining necessary permits and ensuring compliance with local zoning and building codes. Explanation: converting a commercial building into residential lots in California involves legal steps like obtaining relevant permits and ensuring the conversion complies with local zoning regulations and building codes. Question 49. How does the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, impact real estate properties in California? A. No impact on real estate properties. B. Requires properties to have energy-efficient features. C. Mandates accessibility features for individuals with disabilities. D. Only applies to government buildings. Answer: C. Mandates accessibility features for individuals with disabilities. Explanation: the ADA requires real estate properties in California, particularly commercial and public accommodations, to have accessibility features that accommodate individuals with disabilities. Question 50. What are the legal challenges and potential resolutions in a dispute over water rights for a property in California? A. There are no legal challenges. Water rights are always clear. B. Seeking resolution through negotiation or litigation based on historical usage and legal entitlements. C. Automatic arbitration. D. Water rights are not legally recognized. Answer: B. Seeking resolution through negotiation or litigation based on historical usage and legal entitlements. Explanation: disputes over water rights in California can be complex, involving historical usage, legal entitlements, and environmental considerations. They may be resolved through negotiation or, if necessary, litigation. Question 51. Describe the role of a real estate appraiser in California and how their assessment impacts a property transaction. A. To decorate and stage the property for sale. B. Provides an objective valuation of the property, influencing the sale price and loan amount. C. Solely to determine rental income potential. D. To verify legal compliance of the property. Answer: B. Provides an objective valuation of the property, influencing the sale price and loan amount. Explanation: a real estate appraiser in California provides an objective assessment of a property's value, which can influence the sale price, loan amount, and overall terms of the real estate transaction. Question 52. Scenario: a couple in California is considering buying a property under a land lease. What are the implications of this type of property ownership? A. No implications. It's the same as a standard property purchase. B. They own the property but not the land it sits on, which can affect long-term value and financing. C. It automatically includes farming rights. D. It's a short-term property ownership model. Answer: B. They own the property but not the land it sits on, which can affect long-term value and financing. Explanation: buying a property under a land lease in California means the couple would own the property but not the land. This can affect financing options, property value, and stability of ownership due to lease terms. Question 53. Define transfer disclosure statement, TDES, in California real estate and explain its importance in property transactions. A. A statement confirming property size. B. Document detailing a property's physical condition and known defects. C. A declaration of the seller's mortgage status. D. A formal agreement between buyer and seller. Answer: B. Document detailing a property's physical condition and known defects. Explanation: the Transfer Disclosure Statement, TDES, is a legally required document in California where sellers disclose the property's physical condition and any known defects, ensuring buyers are informed about the property's true state. Question 54. What are the considerations and challenges in purchasing a property in a California historical district? A. There are no special considerations. B. Potential restrictions on renovations and adherence to preservation guidelines. C. Only concerns about property age. D. Higher taxes due to historical value. Answer: B. Potential restrictions on renovations and adherence to preservation guidelines. Explanation: Buying a property in a California historical district involves considerations like potential restrictions on renovations and the need to adhere to specific preservation guidelines to maintain the property's historical integrity. Question 55. Explain the difference between a joint tenancy and a tenancy in common in California real estate law. A. No difference. Both are the same. B. Joint tenancy involves the right of survivorship, while tenancy in common does not. C. Tenancy in common is only for commercial properties. D. Joint tenancy is a temporary arrangement. Answer. B. Joint tenancy involves the right of survivorship, while tenancy in common does not. Explanation. In joint tenancy, co-owners have equal shares with the right of survivorship, meaning upon one owner's death, their share passes to the remaining owners. In tenancy in common, owners may have unequal shares without survivorship rights. Question 56. Scenario. A commercial property owner in California wants to lease their property. What are the key components that should be included in the lease agreement? A. Only the rental amount. B. Terms of use, rent amount, duration, and responsibilities of both parties. C. The color scheme of the property. D. Future plans for property development. Answer. B. Terms of use, rent amount, duration, and responsibilities of both parties. Explanation. A commercial lease agreement in California should include key components such as the terms of use, rent amount, lease duration, and the responsibilities and rights of both the landlord and tenant. Question 57. Describe the process of obtaining a conditional use permit in California and in what scenarios it might be required. A. No specific process. Permits are automatically granted. B. Required when a proposed use of property deviates from zoning regulations, involving application and approval from local authorities. C. Only for agricultural uses. D. Only needed for properties over a certain size. Answer. B. Required when a proposed use of property deviates from zoning regulations, involving application and approval from local authorities. Explanation. A conditional use permit in California is required when property's intended use deviates from the local zoning regulations. Obtaining it involves an application process and approval from local planning authorities. Question 58. In a real estate transaction, what does a cloud on title mean in California, and how might it affect the purchase? A. A temporary weather issue affecting property viewing. B. Uncertainties or disputes over property ownership that can complicate or delay the sale. C. A stylistic term for a unique property. D. An environmental concern. Answer. B. Uncertainties or disputes over property ownership that can complicate or delay the sale. Explanation. A cloud on title refers to any claim, lien, or encumbrance that casts doubt on the property's ownership, potentially complicating or delaying a real estate transaction in California until resolved. Question 59. What are the key differences between a general warranty deed and a quitclaim deed in California real estate transactions? A. No significant differences. B. A general warranty deed guarantees a clear title, while a quitclaim deed does not offer any warranties. C. Quitclaim deeds are only for commercial properties. D. General warranty deeds are only for new constructions. Answer. B. A general warranty deed guarantees a clear title, while a quitclaim deed does not offer any warranties. Explanation. In California, a general warranty deed provides a guarantee that the property title is clear and free of any lines or claims, offering the buyer maximum protection. A quitclaim deed, however, conveys only whatever interest the seller has in the property, if any, without any guarantees or warranties about the title's status. Question 60. Scenario. After buying a home in California, a buyer learns that the property has a lower value than the agreed purchase price. What options does the buyer have? A. No options. The sale is final. B. Renegotiate the purchase price. C. Seek legal advice to potentially rescind the contract based on misrepresentation or fraud. D. automatically receive a refund for the difference. Answer C. Seek legal advice to potentially rescind the contract based on misrepresentation or fraud. Explanation: if a buyer in California discovers that the purchased property has a significantly lower value than the agreed purchase price, they may have grounds to rescind the contract based on misrepresentation or fraud. This would typically involve seeking legal advice to explore the available options. Question 61. What legal actions can a property owner in California take if their neighbor's new construction violates local zoning regulations? A. Take no action, as zoning issues are solely the responsibility of local authorities. B. Directly confront the neighbor and demand they cease construction. C. File a complaint with the local zoning board or seek legal injunction. D. Automatically assume ownership of the violating structure. Answer C. File a complaint with the local zoning board or seek legal injunction. Explanation: in California, if a neighbor's construction violates local zoning regulations, a property owner can file a complaint with the local zoning board or seek a legal injunction to halt the construction. This legal approach ensures the enforcement of zoning laws and protects the rights of affected property owners. Question 62. Define material fact in the context of a California real estate transaction. What kinds of information are considered material facts? A. Information that significantly affects the value or desirability of a property. B. Facts about the property's aesthetic features, such as landscaping. C. General information about the local community and amenities. D. Personal opinions of the seller about the property. Answer: A. Information that significantly affects the value or desirability of a property. Explanation: in California real estate transactions, a material fact is any information that significantly affects the value or desirability of a property. This includes facts about the property's condition, legal status, and other significant attributes that would influence a buyer's decision. Question 63. Scenario: a California property listed for sale is found to be in a designated flood zone. How does this designation affect the seller's disclosure obligations and the buyer's insurance requirements? A. The seller must disclose the flood zone status, and the buyer may need special flood insurance. B. The seller is not required to disclose the flood zone status. C. Flood zone status does not impact insurance requirements in California. D. Disclosure of flood zone status is optional but recommended. Answer: A. The seller must disclose the flood zone status, and the buyer may need special flood insurance. Explanation: in California, if a property is in a designated flood zone, the seller is legally required to disclose this to potential buyers. Additionally, being in a flood zone typically means the buyer will need to obtain special flood insurance, as regular homeowners insurance may not cover flood damage. Question 64. Explain the concept of easement appurtenant and provide an example of how it might be used in a California real estate scenario. A. A permanent right to use a portion of another's property for a specific purpose. B. A temporary right to use another's property that expires upon the sale of the property. C. An easement that only applies to commercial properties. D. A type of easement that benefits the land and not a specific individual. Answer: A. A permanent right to use a portion of another's property for a specific purpose. Explanation: an easement appurtenant is a permanent right to use a portion of another's property for a specific purpose. It is attached to the land and transfers with the property when sold. For example, a right-of-way easement allowing one property owner to cross a neighbor's land to access a road. Question 65. A commercial property owner in California wants to lease their property. What are the key components that should be included in the lease agreement? A. Only the rental amount and duration of the lease. B. Description of the property, rental amount, lease term, and responsibilities of each party. C. The property owner's personal information and business history. D. A clause that allows the owner to terminate the lease at any time. Answer: B. Description of the property, rental amount, lease term, and responsibilities of each party. Explanation: in a commercial lease agreement in California, key components include a detailed description of the leased property, the rental amount, the duration of the lease term, and clear stipulations of the responsibilities and rights of each party involved in the lease. Question 66. Describe the process of obtaining a conditional use permit in California and in what scenarios it might be required. A. Required for all real estate transactions, regardless of the property's use. B. A permit needed for uses not typically allowed by the zoning ordinance, but may be permitted under certain conditions. C. Only necessary for residential properties being converted to commercial use. D. A permit that is automatically granted when purchasing a property. Answer: B. A permit needed for uses not typically allowed by the zoning ordinance, but may be permitted under certain conditions. Explanation: a conditional use permit in California is required for property uses that are not generally allowed by the zoning ordinance, but may be permitted under certain conditions. This permit is obtained through a local planning department and is often necessary for unique or specialized property uses that need specific approval. Question 67. Scenario: a real estate agent is selling a home that was previously a crime scene in California. What are the disclosure requirements? A. There is no requirement to disclose if the crime occurred more than 3 years ago. B. Full disclosure of all past crimes, regardless of when they occurred. C. Disclosure is only required if the crime affects the physical structure of the property. D. The agent must disclose if asked directly by a potential buyer. Answer: A. There is no requirement to disclose if the crime occurred more than 3 years ago. Explanation: in California, real estate agents are not required to disclose that a property was a crime scene if the crime occurred more than 3 years prior to the sale. However, if the crime significantly affects the property's desirability or value, or if asked directly, the agent may need to disclose the information. Question 68. What is the homestead exemption in California, and what benefits does it offer homeowners? A. A tax exemption for all homeowners in California. B. Protection against forced sale by creditors, up to a certain amount. C. An exemption that allows homeowners to avoid paying property taxes. D. A discount on home insurance for properties with security systems. Answer: B. Protection against forced sale by creditors, up to a certain amount. Explanation: the homestead exemption in California offers homeowners protection against forced sale of their home by creditors, up to a certain amount. This legal provision helps homeowners preserve a portion of their home equity in the event of financial difficulties or bankruptcy. Question 69. Define transfer disclosure statement, TDES, in California real estate and explain its importance in property transactions. A. A statement that transfers property ownership from the seller to the buyer. B. A mandatory disclosure form that outlines the property's condition and any known defects. C. A financial statement that details the transfer of funds during the transaction. D. A document that transfers property management responsibilities to the new owner. Answer: B. A mandatory disclosure form that outlines the property's condition and any known defects. Explanation: a transfer disclosure statement, TDES, in California real estate is a legally required form that sellers must complete, outlining the condition of the property and disclosing any known defects or issues. This statement is crucial as it informs buyers about the property's condition, helping them make an informed purchasing decision. Question 70. In a California real estate transaction, what is the significance of an as-is clause in the purchase agreement? A. It indicates that the property will be sold in its current condition without any repairs. B. It means the seller is responsible for all repairs before the sale. C. The clause is purely symbolic and has no legal bearing. D. It requires the buyer to pay for any property improvements. Answer: A. It indicates that the property will be sold in its current condition without any repairs. Explanation: an as-is clause in a California real estate purchase agreement signifies that the property is being sold in its current state, with the understanding that the seller will not make any repairs or improvements before the sale. It places the responsibility on the buyer to accept the property as it is, including any faults or issues. Question 71. What is the purpose and process of the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA? And how does it protect consumers in California real estate transactions? A. RESPA regulates the sale of all properties in California to ensure fair pricing. B. It governs the transfer of title to guarantee a smooth ownership transition. C. RESPA ensures transparency and fairness in the closing process of real estate transactions. D. It provides a government guarantee for all real estate transactions. Answer: C. RESPA ensures transparency and fairness in the closing process of real estate transactions. Explanation: the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, RESPA, is a federal law that ensures transparency and fairness in the closing process of real estate transactions. It requires lenders to provide disclosures to borrowers about the costs associated with the transaction, thereby protecting consumers from hidden fees and unscrupulous practices. Question 72. Scenario: Andy's Arcade, operating for 15 years, recently faced a total loss due to a fire. The area has been rezoned to non-commercial. What must Andy do to rebuild the arcade at the same location in California? A. Andy must obtain a variance from the local zoning board. B. Rebuilding is not possible due to the rezoning. C. Only a new commercial permit is required. D. Andy must file a lawsuit against the city. Answer: A. Andy must obtain a variance from the local zoning board. Explanation: if Andy's Arcade in California, which has been operating for 15 years, faces a total loss due to a fire and the area has been rezoned to non-commercial, Andy would need to obtain a variance from the local zoning board to rebuild the arcade in the same location. A variance would allow an exception to the zoning rules, given the arcade's long-standing presence and recent loss. Question 73. A buyer in California is interested in a property, but learns it's part of a homeowners association, HOA, with strict rules. What should the buyer consider before proceeding with the purchase? A. The buyer should disregard the HOA rules as they are not legally binding. B. Consider the HOA rules, fees, and how they align with the buyer's lifestyle and preferences. C. Only focus on the property's physical condition and ignore the HOA aspect. D. Assume that the HOA rules can be easily changed after purchase. Answer: B. Consider the HOA rules, fees, and how they align with the buyer's lifestyle and preferences. Explanation: when considering a property in California that is part of a homeowners association, HOA, it's important for the buyer to review the HOA's rules, fees, and regulations to understand how they align with their lifestyle and preferences. HOAs can have significant impact on how a property is used and maintained, and their rules are legally enforceable. Question 74. Explain the legal concept of easement by necessity in California real estate and provide an example. A. An easement granted to all property owners for general access. B. A type of easement created when a property is landlocked and needs access to a public road. C. Easement for utility companies to install infrastructure. D. A temporary easement granted during construction. Answer: B. A type of easement created when a property is landlocked and needs access to a public road. Explanation: an easement by necessity in California real estate is created when a property is landlocked and requires access to a public road. This type of easement is established to provide the necessary access, ensuring that the property owner can reach their land, For example, if a property is surrounded by other properties and has no direct access to a public road, an easement by necessity would be required for entry and exit. Question 75. A property owner in California discovers their neighbor's new fence extends onto their property. What legal actions can they take to resolve this boundary dispute? A. Immediately remove the fence without consulting the neighbor. B. Try to resolve the issue amicably with the neighbor or seek mediation. C. Ignore the issue as it does not significantly affect the property. D. Sell the encroached land to the neighbor at market value. Answer. B. Try to resolve the issue amicably with the neighbor or seek mediation. Explanation. In California, when a property owner discovers that a neighbor's fence extends onto their property, the recommended course of action is to first try to resolve the issue amicably with the neighbor. If an agreement cannot be reached, seeking mediation or legal advice can help resolve the boundary dispute in a fair and legal manner. Question 76. Define the term fixture in real estate and explain how it determines what stays with a property upon sale in California. A. Fixtures refer to all movable items within a property. B. Items permanently attached to the property that are typically included in the sale. C. Only high-value items like appliances and electronics. D. Personal property of the seller that is always removed upon sale. Answer. B. Items permanently attached to the property that are typically included in the sale. Explanation. In real estate, a fixture refers to items that are permanently attached to the property, such as built-in appliances, light fixtures, and window coverings. These items are generally considered part of the property and typically stay with it upon sale in California, unless specifically excluded in the sales agreement. Question 77. A California homeowner discovers an undisclosed leak in the basement after purchasing their home. What recourse do they have against the seller? A. No recourse, as it is the buyer's responsibility to detect such issues. B. Seek compensation or rescind the sale through legal action for non-disclosure. C. Request the real estate agent to pay for repairs. D. File a complaint with the local government for poor inspection. Answer. B. Seek compensation or rescind the sale through legal action for non-disclosure. Explanation. In California, if a homeowner discovers an undisclosed leak in the basement after purchasing their home, they may have legal recourse against the seller for non-disclosure. The buyer can seek compensation or potentially rescind the sale if it can be proven that the seller knew about the leak and failed to disclose it. Question 78. Describe the impact of Proposition 13 on property tax assessments in California. A. Proposition 13 eliminates all property taxes in California. B. It limits annual increases in assessed value of property to a maximum of 2% per year. C. Proposition 13 requires a reassessment of property taxes every year. D. It significantly increases property taxes for new homeowners. Answer. B. It limits annual increases in assessed value of property to a maximum of 2% per year. Explanation. Proposition 13, enacted in 1978, has a significant impact on property tax assessments in California. It limits the annual increase in assessed value of real property to a maximum of 2% per year, regardless of changes in market value. This regulation applies until the property is sold, at which point it can be reassessed at current market value. Question 79. In a California real estate transaction, what are the implications of a property being sold with a life estate attached to it? A. The seller retains ownership for life, and the buyer gains ownership after the seller's death. B. The buyer cannot take possession until the seller's death. C. The property comes with a guaranteed lifetime income for the buyer. D. The life estate holder retains certain rights to the property during their lifetime. Answer. D. The life estate holder retains certain rights to the property during their lifetime. Explanation. When a property is sold with a life estate attached to it in California, it means that the life estate holder, often the seller or another designated individual, retains certain rights to the property during their lifetime. These rights typically include the ability to live in or use the property. After the life estate holder's death, full ownership and control pass to the buyer. Question 80. How does the Protecting Tenants at Foreclosure Act impact tenants' rights in California when the rented property is foreclosed? A. Tenants must vacate the property immediately upon foreclosure. B. Tenants can remain in the property until the end of their lease, with some exceptions. C. The Act only applies to commercial tenants, not residential tenants. D. Tenants have the right to purchase the property before foreclosure. Answer: B. Tenants can remain in the property until the end of their lease, with some exceptions. Explanation: the Protecting Tenants at Foreclosure Act provides significant protections for tenants in California when the property they are renting is foreclosed upon. Under this act, most tenants can remain in the property until the end of their lease term, unless the new owner intends to occupy the property as a primary residence. In such cases, tenants may be required to vacate with a 90-day notice.